Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help families simplify the college planning process. I'm Kristen Clark. I help teens and young adults figure out a career path in the right college major or another educational path, depending on their
Mhm.
goal. And I'm here with Bobby Hood, our resident ACT SAT online tutor. Bobby, how are you doing today in the great state of Tennessee?
Yeah, just great. Yes, I'm out at the farmhouse. Yeah, just right across the border from Nashville. Then you drive slightly into Kentucky, and yeah, out at this farmhouse. I was trying to be outside, but it's just too hot out there. The computer overheated, so we'll do it in here. I guess the little sign that says farmhouse is sufficient to say where we are.
Yes. So we have a important topic today, Bobby, that
Yeah.
is something new that people might not know about, and that's the fact that the SATs are going digital.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been talking about this for a while, and there's been a little bit during COVID where, like the ACT for a little while and still is sometimes the same test is given as a digital test sometimes in schools. But that's different from what this is. This is a major, huge revision to the SAT. And the last time the SAT was revised was 2015. And so we've been on the same SAT for 8 years. And now in this fall, the SAT is going to change to a digital adaptive test, which is very, very different. And so the first one's going to be the PSAT this fall, which will be a digital adaptive test. And then starting in March of 2024 will be the first SAT that is digital. And so that means that the first people who are going to encounter this are the rising juniors, people who just finished their sophomore year. Their PSAT is going to be a digital adaptive test. So you take it on a tablet. And the big difference with the digital SAT is that it's a shorter test. It's only about 2 hours long. And what happens is they give you a section of math questions. And then, depending on how well you do, you get another section of math questions that is harder and your score gets higher. But if you don't do as well, then you get a section of math questions that's easier and you get a lower score. And then the same thing with the verbal side. So the test is going to get way harder as you go, and your score will adapt. And that's how it can uh, finish the test in only 2 hours instead of 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Bobby, I would think that that would make the scores much more varied on this new test.
I think it will. Yeah, that's one of the things is that the score is going to be much less predictable. I mean, first thing, it won't be predictable because no one knows exactly how the score is calculated, right? So, and also because there are very, very few practice tests that you can take, right? And this has been a problem with SAT for a while. When they changed to the digital, or when they changed in 2015 to the current version of the SAT, they put out 4 practice tests ahead of time, but then they debuted the test, and the test was significantly different from the practice tests. So we had all at Princeton Review and other places, we designed all these materials based on the practice tests. Students prepared for this test, and then a test came out that had, a lot of the things that were on the practice test weren't on there. It was significantly different. And same thing here. There are a couple of digital practice tests online, and that's it. That's all the content there is a couple of practice tests online provided by College Board. So that makes it very hard to prepare for. And so what happened in 2015 in the run up to the changeover is generally when this happens is everyone just simply chooses to take the other test, which is the ACT, which is just taken exactly as often as the SAT. They both have. The ACT has a slightly higher market share than the SAT, even though people don't realize that. And so generally what's going to happen is a whole lot of people are going to go and just take the ACT instead of the SAT for a year or two until we really know what this new test is actually like after it debuts. So that seems like a really easy solution, right? Just take the ACT, but there's a problem. The PSAT is this test that qualifies you for national merit scholarships. So if you have any chance of scoring in the top 1% in your state, then you're going to want to prepare for the PSAT in its digital format, which will be given in October, like it always is during junior year. So if you are a rising junior, you've just finished your sophomore year, then if you think there's a chance, if you're in the top 5% of your class or something, right? Or if you think you've got a chance of scoring in the top 1% in your state, then you should prepare for the digital PSAT. And I do have a contact form on my site. Anybody who's interested in learning how to prepare for it and things like that can always just feel free to contact me, and I will answer your questions and point you in the directions. Right now, there's not a whole lot. There's just the practice tests that are available from the College Board site, and that's it.
Is
So I
there
guess go ahead.
is there a type of student that you think that this digital version might be a benefit to?
So, oh yeah, and that is another thing too, is like one thing that's going to happen is the the paper SAT continues until December. So one option is, if you really, really want to take the SAT and you're a rising junior, maybe go take it and get done with it by December so you don't have to mess with the digital form, right? So one big change is that the new SAT, the digital SAT, has eliminated long reading passages. And so the new digital SAT is all like one paragraph reading passages that are standalone. And so they'll give you one paragraph and ask what the main point of it is, or they'll give you one paragraph and ask you one question about it. So each reading passage is short and has one standalone question with it, at least in the practice tests that have been released. Who knows how they might change it between now and next year.
Yeah.
But so the ACT reading test still includes the long, 10 paragraph long, page long reading passages. And so for a student who just is absolutely destroyed by and intimidated by long reading passages, that might be a little better. And so that's the thing. Also, there is a new thing with the SAT that is going to require kind of a lot more learning, but the digital SAT has an on-screen calculator you can use, and it is the Desmos online calculator. And the Desmos online calculator can do a whole lot of stuff. It can actually answer a lot of the questions they ask if you understand how to use the calculator. So a big part of preparation for a lot of students is going to be learning how to use this on-screen calculator that they've never heard of and being prepared to use it on the test. So that can be helpful during the math section. Although I don't think I'd be very enthusiastic about having to learn how to use some new calculator that I've never heard of,
But Bobby, they can obviously still use their own calculator, right?
not on the digital SAT. The
Oh,
only thing you can use is an on-screen calculator, and that is it. And you cannot bring your own calculator the way you can with the ACT. So with the
how will they
ACT,
know?
yeah,
How will they
it's
know?
it's well, I mean, that's part of the thing, is you're going to get all these instructions when you sign up, and it's going to tell you all these things, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think if I understand correctly, what they have said is that this digital SAT is going to be taken at home in your house, not at school,
Yeah.
on a tablet or computer. But not everybody has a tablet or computer, which means that they are going to that you're going to need to have a tablet or computer, and most people don't have tablets or computers. So that means that College Board has promised that they are going to provide tablets for people to take the test on. And in fact, if I understand correctly, you are required to take it on their tablets. I guess they're theoretically going to provide tablets to everybody. I don't understand this, and no one else does either, right?
Right.
Because I don't understand how they're thinking they're going to provide all these tablets to people and then have them sent back or something. But also, what about practicing for the test if you don't own a tablet or computer? Like,
Right.
if the
Yeah.
only time you're ever going to get to touch this tablet is you'll get it 2 days for the test and you take it, and then I don't know. It's a very strange situation, right? So that's the problem, is like right now, all we know is they only released these practice tests a couple of months ago. All we know is that they're planning to do this. Much more information is going to come out in about 6 months. So really, the upshot is that right now, it's just if you are a rising junior, you're going to have to deal with it for the PSAT. And then you can get out of the rest of it by just either taking the paper SAT before by December or by just taking the ACT. But you're going to need to know this stuff. If you are a sophomore, then it's going to be, if you are a rising sophomore, then it's going to be a fact of your life. And I would suggest just, focus on the ACT and see if you can do that well, But that's it. But I think what we will do an update probably in 3 months when we know a whole lot more. You and I can do another one of these. Right now, this is all we know is I've taken the practice test. The only student who absolutely will need this new digital SAT, as far as I can tell, is students who can't handle long reading passages. Other than that, it's the ACT is more manageable, right? But I think it will be interesting. I mean, the 2-hour test, I guess the other student, I should say, the other student who might really benefit is students who get severe test fatigue in a 3 hour and 15-minute test, or who get very distracted. A 2-hour test could really benefit a student like that. A student who can stay focused for 2 hours, but not for 3.5 hours. This could really benefit those students.
Here's the big question. When you took the practice test, what was your score?
So I think I scored 770 on the math and 790 on the reading, which was kind of interesting because, well, I was taking it while distracted, which was kind of fun. But I remember
you were at a bar, I think, right?
Yeah, so it was pretty funny. But I remember my reaction as I took the test, especially the reading, was a lot of the questions, even in the first section that is supposed to be sort of medium, my reaction on at least half of the reading questions was, oh my gosh, this question is hard and kind of weird. And I had to sit there and think about it for a minute before I chose it. And if I found it hard and weird, right, then students are, definitely going to find it hard and weird. The math section was not that bad, but it did have more intense like calculations involved, and so that on-screen calculator is going to be necessary. But yeah, so I did do very, very well despite thinking it was so hard. But this is where, and we just don't know. But I remember in 2015 looking at the practice tests for the new redesigned SAT and saying, this test is unbelievably, insanely hard. I don't see how anyone's going to be able to do it. And that's why when they debuted the actual SAT, it was much easier than this insanely difficult test that they put out. And this College Board has had this reputation of trying to show off how hard their test is going to be by releasing these insanely hard practice tests. And then the real test is much easier. So there is a chance that when this actually debuts, it's going to be much, much easier than that practice test I took. And if that's the case, then tutors everywhere are going to be saying, okay, everybody take this digital SAT. This is great, right?
And we don't know until we know, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, right? And so for now, it's just wait for further information. But also the thing is, it doesn't matter that much if a test is easy or hard, because the scoring is still just compare all the students to each other, and the ones who got the most questions right get the highest scores. So you don't really want easy tests, right? Because then anything you miss really kills your score. You want a test that's fairly difficult, but that you are prepared for.
All right.
Anyways, this is great. We will update again, and I appreciate it, Dale. Thanks for your comments. This will be something really interesting for our students to learn about as we move forward.
All right, and I promise we will get it scheduled for another few months so that we can give
you
concrete, what we're seeing and what we're hearing. So thank you, Bobby.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Have a great week.